In this video tutorial, we will be looking at how to fill out a bar graph. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the report. I have it minimized down here. All right, here's the speech and language report. I'm going to scroll down to the evaluation results section and click so that my cursor is there. Bar graphs tend to be associated with auto text for formal tests that would give you standard scores such as the SEL-5, the Goldman-Fristow. Tests of that nature that give you standard scores, you're usually going to find a bar graph in the auto text. Bar graphs do not have to be used. If you would like, you can delete them or you can use them, whichever you'd prefer. So I've clicked down in the evaluation results section and I'm going to come up here to my auto text. I'm going to select the drop down and I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the SEL-5. It's in the language category. There's the SEL-5. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to populate my SEL-5 information. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. And the first bar graph that I've got is for test scaled scores. You can see this bar graph says test scaled scores. It tells you that its mean is 10. It gives you some numbers here on the y-axis and some spaces here for numbers on the x-axis. So how are we going to get information into this bar graph? This is what you're going to do. You're going to click on the graph. All right. Over here, a chart tools section has populated now that you've clicked on the graph. You're going to click on Design, Edit Data. Once you click on that, an Excel spreadsheet is going to populate. So here it is right here. Let me get the whole bar graph. There we go in the picture. Okay. So my Excel spreadsheet has populated. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in some subtest scaled scores. In the Category 1 section, I am going to call that sentence comprehension. I'm going to press Enter, and you can see that came up down here. I'm going to give sentence comprehension a scaled score of 6, and I'm going to press Enter. You can see my bar has populated. You can continue to do the same thing. We can do linguistic concepts, Enter, and then a score of 3, Enter. And that's how you fill out a bar graph. When you're done, you can hit X, so your Excel spreadsheet will go away, and there you go. Now, if you needed to edit the data that you put into this bar graph, all you have to do again is click on the graph, Chart Tools populates, you're going to click on Design, Edit Data, and that's where your Excel spreadsheet will populate again, and you can go ahead and change information. Oops. Changing the information, hitting Enter, and you can see that the linguistic concepts has changed. All right, so that is one example as to how we fill out a bar graph. I am going to show you the index standard scores graph next. In this graph, the mean is 100. You've got this big bold line here to mark that 77 point. So same thing, click on the graph, go to Design, Edit Data, and you're going to go ahead and put in the index standard score titles and dates, data points that you have. So the first one is core language score. I'm going to press Enter. And in fact, you could enter in your bar labels. You could enter this information in first and then enter in your numbers. So I entered in core language. Next I've got receptive language index. Let's see what else. We've got expressive language index and so on. Okay, so I've entered those in and those are populating down here on the bottom of my graph. And some data that I can enter in. A core language standard score, let's do a 73. A receptive language standard score, of 80 and an expressive language standard score of 70. I apologize if you hear any background noise. My dogs are wrestling right now. All right, so you can see that I've entered in some information and it's populated my bars and the numbers that I've entered, and it kind of shows you how it relates to this 77 line over here. All right, and at this point I think I'm going to stop. I've shown you some the ways that you can enter in data into bar graphs, and I think what I'll do is I'll make another video tutorial that goes a little bit more in depth to some of the other bar graphs that we have, such as bar graphs for reporting phonological processes and the bar graph associated with the narrative analysis. So keep your eyes out for a video tutorial covering those two items.